Hello, people. This is your weekly Friday Red show. I am your host on this weekly show, and I'd like to begin our intro, or what you call the opening song, theme song. But it's really based on Matthew chapter 6, the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Yeah, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and hello. We have Neil Camaro. What's up, brother? This is Friday Reds Weekly. If you want to see the past week Friday Reds, it's online. You can go to YouTube as written, youtube.com/eCELi TV, and check out the Friday Reds. But before we begin, also we want to say the preamble of the U.S. Constitution, because it's the framework of how we live today. With all the amendments of the 26 amendments of the U.S. Constitution. And our priority, of course, is the First Amendment, which is our freedom to be on YouTube and publicly share Facebook Live information, as well as the American spirit and the framework of the Constitution, and the goal to achieve heaven on earth, as I stated or said in the Lord's Prayer, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And so the United States was designed and is designed to be heaven on earth. But unfortunately, we have a lot of these different types of politicians that are now segregating themselves as, a hyphenated group, be a Republican American, Democratic American, Independent American, which is not healthy for being we the people. We should all be Americans, United States citizens, residents, and the preamble states that, and it's our ultimate goal to achieve heaven on earth. And the voices of, especially Native and Asian men, are still underrepresented in the past week of the Screen Actors Guild Award. And it was noted by two women stating, hey, where are the Asian men, in the SAG and Screen Actors Guild. So we were going to say the Lord's Prayer. We said the Lord's Prayer, so we're going to say the preamble of the United States Constitution. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, to ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America, and to the netizens online. Hey, we have another person. It's Manuel Ricardo Gateres Camero. Hola. All right. Yeah, so you can go to cdbaby.com and listen to my original music. I use the soundtrack uh, the fifth song of this album, East Meets West, which is available online. You can listen it or download it. Get an MP3 copy at cdbaby.com/EMEL, or you can go to YouTube and search for this album, East Meets West, and you can look for the song title Amazing Grace. So the idea of Friday Reds is to summarize, as a storytelling artist, what happened in the past, what is happening presently, and what we're doing for the future. And knowing the past, we can shape the future better by expressing it in the present. And so in the present moment in my Facebook Live, I want to summarize the past week. And of course, I voted for the Screen Actress Guild Award. And also, the current state of high school. I mentioned high school. I have a sub-project working on high school stuff, or childhood activities then. And I've been working on a project called Then and Now. And I'm writing about then. And this album was then, but the stories of American high schools, American junior high schools, American elementary is really critical. And we adults, especially those that are now senior citizens or leaning towards becoming senior citizens, the adults need to invest in storytelling and educating the young minds. And so these are my projects that I've been trying to implement, either altruistically or seeking funding and budgets for the individual projects that I'm working in, because everything requires budget, money, to pay your staff, to pay your even the volunteers, recognize their participating time. So Friday Reds past, I've been writing presently what was then. So past, because recent traumatic incident in the United States was the Kentucky high school shooting, and an innocent gal. Imagine you being an American parent, or a parent that has a child, high school, are still in high schools, and you get a phone call that this Kentucky high school in the U.S. You lose a child. It's devastating for a parent to lose a future, your child's future, just because of the violence in the American high schools. And so I stress this kind of not really altruistic thing I'm doing as a storyteller, is that the idea was to problem solve why teen pregnancy occur, why shootings in high schools occur, why all these things, because what's happening in the US high schools, at least from my observation and report, that the young minds, these going to be young adults, they are experiencing all this information from adults, their own adult relatives, adult parents, adult, they are trying to express it in their own childhood ways. I'm saying from like maybe age 1 through age 20, I consider that still children, still what do you call, although the US law says 18 and 1920, 18, 19, 20, that's an adult. But 18, 19, 20 is really a borderline. And so when they are perpetrated by corporation businesses and try to sell their goods, try to basically brainwash them, and so that tragedy that occurred in Kentucky, this has been going on. I mean, this is a real American problem, and I believe that the high school is where all violence, sexual harassment, everything goes on in the American high schools. Only now, the recent things that are happening in Hollywood, like sexual harassment, these Me Too and Time Is Up. This has been going on, the sexual harassment on young high school girls. I mean, and young high school guys, they only emulate what they see in their family members that are adults, or what they see in movies, TV shows, or online information. And if that information is intended for 21-year-olds and up, like bar type adult, bar place, you gotta be over 21, or gambling houses, you gotta be over 21. Now, if these 20-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds, even younger than 18, which are called the minors in US, the jailbait 17, 16-year-olds, that when they're exposed to adult content, they think they can emulate and be those adult content. And so violence is in their head. Pornography online is oh man, it's so dangerous. And 18-year-olds, it's legal for an 18-year-old actor to be in a porn production. I think they should be 21 and over, and the threshold for adult should be 21 and over instead of less than 21. And anybody that deals with anybody under 20, I mean, it should be like they should be isolated from any kind of adult content or information until they reach the threshold 21. Just like going to Reno or Vegas and going to a gambling hotel, people that enter in has to be and play with those has to be 21-year-olds, 21-year-olds. And then the high schools, they should just again enforce what I experienced in high school. There was an all-white school that I attended, and there was an all-diverse, diverse high school, where black, white people, and Asian people, red people, they were all in the same high school. That was an interesting thing, but there were conflicts between beautiful girls in high school that would play around with the different ethnic groups, and there would be conflicts. It's all, we blame it on the high school girls. That was my experience, was that the high school girls were playing around with the high school guys, and the guys, they get provoked amongst each other, and vice versa. That's probably going on still today. High school girls or high school guys or today girls are more, they have their own freedom of, their empowerment in high schools. And so equality, sexual equality, all these things are going on in high schools. And this tragic incident again in Kentucky, you wouldn't want your children, if you had children, especially in California high schools, and especially, they're still going to pursue their college degree, but their, other classmates are in their issues because they're learning adult stuff too early. And so they're trying to live the adult life, but they are still children, they're still under the 21 years old. And so high school kids are young, they're dumb, and they're broke. Sometimes, their parents take advantage of that, and so they kind of like are stressed out in their home environment, and then when they go to school, they get harassed from their own classmates. And I've witnessed that. I've experienced that in my high school in the city of Mountain View. And I went to an AWOL high school, and then I went to Mount View High School, which is Mountain View High School. And so the idea for us storytellers, in this present moment, and in my altruistic effort to solve the problems that I witnessed, even after high school, when you work in the city of San Jose and you work with truancy, people, high school kids that are dropping out. High school kids they're very wealthy but don't want to attend school because they think they're much brighter than what the teachers are giving them in high school. I mean, they are into like hustling, the hip hop culture, and they make more money, dropping out of high school than staying in high school. And so these are the kind of American issues that occur in the American high schools. And what's Hollywood doing about it is they're not doing anything about it. I mean, yes, there's stories, like High School Musicals and the classic old movie called, West Side Story, but American high school kids, they are very independent, freedom. They have, both the public school and the private school, because it's what you call the age, the coming of age. And the coming of age is really the dangerous part of American culture, because some of those young adults, they turn on the people the fellow classmates that maybe have harassed them or bullied them, or done those kind of things. So my problem solving skills, I after high school, I pursued my career, became an engineer, a research scientist, and solved problems for corporate America. But what I later found out, was nobody was solving the problem of our, especially Native and Asian men in America, that in the 90s, we were squelched out of Hollywood. Hollywood basically shut down, stopped Ernie Reyes Jr., stopped Russell Wong, all these Asian American leading guys that were on broadcast television nationwide, that they shut down any TV show that had a leading Asian guy, a leading Asian man. And just a year or so, there was an attempt like John Cho TV show Selfie, but they canceled that. And then this Dr. Ken, last year they canceled that again. So the problem in the Screen Actors Guild Award, which is my union, I'm a member of that, is that we Native Asian men and Asian, we are Americans as any other Americans, but Hollywood still has a problem in treating us equal. There's this arrogance in the what you call the census. American census tries to compile, oh, this majority Americans are white. Oh yes, there's the black America. This segregated inequality. Like I said, the hyphenating of Americans. And so the business producers, the Hollywood producers, the filthy rich white producers like Harvey Weinstein, they continue to racial harass and not create this illusion that it's so easy to make an illusion of leading men of Mongoloid, Caucasoid, Negro, the diversity, and it takes just a good written screenplay, playwright, teleplay, and it would be what American, the ideal American scene. But no, the lopsided Hollywood would not want to help what's going on, because American high schools, you see many people of color, because it's, post 1970s, Rosa Parks, all American high schools are integrated. And it took years, decades for that law to integrate and get implemented. I think it was law after the World War II that no one group can become like Hitler. And so it was a case in Westminster versus Bob Mendes, the Mendes family in Westminster, Southern California, elementary schools, that segregating the American kids in these elementary schools was not healthy for America, to avoid that integration, right? And so the case of Westminster and Bob Mendes, the Mendes family, won. And integration in elementary schools was supposed to already happen in early 50s, but it took another 2 decades to fight for integration in these high schools, junior high schools, and elementary schools. And the product of integration really occurred in the early 70s. And despite Rosa Parks, it took a while for all the American high schools and American elementaries and junior high to integrate. And then, of course, in the late 70s, you got Vietnamese refugees due to the Vietnam War. And so there was this influx of the last Americans. And the first Americans are the natives, the Navajo, the Eskimos, and they look like Vietnamese visually in the illusion of Hollywood. And so come 1990s, they basically suppressed, Russell Wong, and now 2018-17, they're suppressing John Cho to be a leading man in like his TV show Selfie. And again, Dr. Ken, I think, and they want to reinforce this FOB show, Fresh Off the Boat, making Asian men as fresh off the boat, like as if they just arrived, their airplane just arrived yesterday, and they've just landed. And that's how these networks, and they're producing, these TV networks, whether it be CW, ABC, CBS, and that's what they're trying to present. And that's why the award shows, whether it be the Emmys, Golden Globes, or the Oscars, or the Screen Actors Guild Award, you don't have any winners or nominations. But if you actually look at the list of all members of the Screen Actors Guild, there are millions of guys like me, thousands of guys like me that are members of the Screen Actors Guild. And there's still the old actors like Ernie Reyes Jr. There's still old actors that are the guy that was in 21 Jump Street, that Asian dude. They're still there. But Hollywood, AMTP, the Association of Motion Picture and Television Producers, they continue to do this past, but there's nothing you can do, because the producers, the Asian producers, they can only produce a movie or a TV show maybe once in every 5 years. Yeah, for Asian Americans of Filipino heritage, I go to Manila and ask them, look, guys, you make movies there every day. You practically produce movies there, TV shows there every day, but it's in Tagalog, and it does not, that doesn't help us. So we have to import in, those products made there, but they have to be Americanized. Japan is trying to do that. Japan, with their ninja movies, China does that. They make their Jackie Chan movies and they put them into American English. The dialogues are in the American English. But the stubborn people in Manila, the filmmakers there, they insist on Tagalog, and you know, it is, the national. They're claiming the national language, and it's trampling all the other tribes' languages. You know, I think there was just a recent post by Leah Salonga, Broadway singing artist. She disclosed other folk songs, songs that are of different tribes, but they're going extinct. They're dying. Those unused tribes, the languages and the songs. Leah Salonga just posted that. We have to capture the spoken words of maybe Ilonggo, Ilocano, Bisaya. Those languages are being trampled on by the Tagalog language. So the film industry there, I was relying on the filmmakers there to make American English movies so that we can import it in and educate the rest of the United States about tribal languages, or what the Philippine history is about, what went on with the U.S. What's the U.S. Philippine? What is that all about? Because basically there's the U.S. Is the Philippines is the U.S., but it's incomplete because the story of 1911 called 45, song of an Afro Man. 1911. The U.S. forced itself and said, Philippines, you're going to be a U.S. Imagine it told the Philippines to stop speaking Spanish and be an English-speaking country. Forced itself, 1920. Yeah, but a lot of the United States citizens in today's, they don't understand that. They have no knowledge of that. And I, being here and trying to produce a Hollywood story, a TV show, or a web series because it's inexpensive. If I get help from the people in the Philippines, the Manila people, to produce American English stories about the story of the American culture in the Philippines, it would educate and teach more of Afro Americans and European Americans and understand why we Native and Asian men are very valuable in America. But when I can't convince the Manila film producers, makers of content, and they insist on the Tagalog dialogues, I can't. There's nothing I can do. We can only produce content in Hollywood one at a time. And my attempt. Imagine it took me 2003 to obtain my SAG award, my Screen Actors Guild award. I mean, my screen actor, my union membership. I meant that was 2003, and then in 2003 I set up a California S corporation to set up a business, and then that failed because when the community of Filipino Americans lack support. I mean, there are filthy rich Filipino Americans, but they keep their money in their pocket and they don't want to invest in their own selves in storytelling and telling about the life of the United States Filipinos. The Carlos Bulusan book, I mean, that book really discloses the early life of the 1900s, 1920s in the U.S. Filipino Americans, Asian Americans. But have you seen a TV show or a movie I know one guy that did a playwright. He's a fellow actor there, but other Pinoy or Asian actors, Asian men, it's really a struggle when your own community does not believe in your story about themselves, and so they would rather buy and rather focus on LA Lakers and spend all their money on LA Lakers sports. And yeah, I don't blame them, but I'm telling them that their children are exposed to the issues of the American high schools. And yeah, some of them will graduate from high school, they will, but their whole experience in the American culture in American high schools and American junior high schools, the Pinoy experience is very valuable. But if it's not told, then of course, you know, only the half Pinoys, the Hapakines, the Tisoys, the white looking Pinoys, you know, that's only Hollywood will pick because they're part white, American. Excuse me. We're all Americans, and I look at that as, an equality to look at USA person. A USA person is an American spirited person, but sadly, we have people that says, oh, majority people are white, so let's make a white produced thing to sell to the white people. So there goes the economics. If you're thinking about supply and demand, but a smart producer would make a show be diverse or triverse, where you have supporting roles played by white actors or black actors, that are A-list stars, and then you put an unknown Pinoy actor like myself, and so you make at least an attempt to, wow, those guys exist. Wow, Daly City exists. Wow, West Covina exists. Wow, but they don't know other part of the United States. Other counties. They don't give a damn ass about other cultures. They only care about the American cultures. And so my show Friday Reds is just to really I'm going over time here, but to really help our children and defend them from the situations in high schools. But to do that, you need to tell stories or create songwriters, musicians like Bruno Mars, and let the United States know about our existence. And so when you do a sitcom with a family of Filipino, like Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, we need more of those shows to have a lead role or a leading cast, and then of course supporting cast of Euro or Afro-American supporting roles. That's what Dr. Ken, the ABC show, was trying to do. But all I can do is make my own Friday Reds and develop this web series. And the idea is make it a nonprofit. I believe I'm just thinking about making the MRD 008 a nonprofit web series, just to help expose the actors in Hollywood of Pinoy heritage. The same thing with MRD 009, which is called The Filipina Girl, which just showcases what the Filipino women interracially married to white men or